You asked for an update, and so today that's what we're going to do. Welcome back to Rooted and Refined. We've completed a few garden projects together, so let's go back today and revisit them, see what's working, see what's not, and just get an overall picture of how things are looking today. Here's the backyard space, and I want to mainly focus in on this area right here. Now we reset a peony tuber right there. That tuber still has not come up, but what I'm more concerned about in this space is the amount of shade. It is currently 11 o'clock, and you can see this is full sun, except this corner right here. This peony in the very back has not grown very big. I have this sedum over here, which you'll see on the other side in a second, is much, much larger than this one. And nothing is really growing in this space. So this is one of those times where I have to decide, do I need to transition this into a part shade or part sun space? This corner over here will go into full sun at around 12:30-ish. But it comes out of sun at 5:30. So it's right on that cusp. But looking at how things aren't growing the way that they are over there gives me pause and makes me think that I may need to redesign this. So more to come on this space later, but let's keep moving. You can see this honeysuckle is doing super well. I'm loving how it is filling up that space on the fence. The butterfly bushes are finally coming into bloom, looking good. Cone flowers coming up. This is one of our guara that I propagated and planted. And then I put in some annuals. I did add the salvia on this side, so that's looking good. This area behind the bird bath, a little bee flying around. This little area behind the bird bath last year was full of black-eyed Susan, Rebecca. It's not coming up over on this side. I will likely take some of this and bring it over here, but normally I don't have to do that. Normally it just comes up by itself, it reseeds itself. This is the very first project that we did together. We planted this guara, and it's looking good. Likes its space there. Some more salvia that we planted. Remember, we moved these white coneflower. We added that milkweed. This back here is a blue salvia that I planted. The salvia broke, but it's okay. I propagated it. There's still that one little bit of growth down by the ground, so it'll come back up. Camellia that I've got training up the fence are doing well. There's another one of our guara back there that we planted. More coneflower and our salvia. The other honeysuckle. And then I popped in some coneflower that I started from seed. Those will be purple and white echinacea. This one a dear friend gave me for my birthday. And so I planted that. Actually took out where I put a peony tuber. I think that will look better there in the long run. And then we've got those peonies behind there. This Pinky Winky Hydrangea is doing very well this year. It's put on a ton of growth, and you can see it's getting ready to come into bloom. Now this is that sedum. I showed you the one on the other side that's just not quite as big as this one is. And then there's an encore azalea back there, coming back around to the other side. more coneflower, and then this yellow coneflower that same friend gave me for my birthday. Let's move around to the back. Let me show you the retaining wall. Got our strawberries. Got some berries right there. We've been picking them. You know, they're still pretty small, so not getting a ton of berries, but getting some. Watermelon. With lots of flowers that will hopefully be pollinated and turn into melons. And then we've got our spaghetti squash. And we do have some squash, so you can see I just kind of rest it up here as it forms the squash, so it doesn't weigh that plant down. And then moving over here, here's that cucumber that we planted. I decided not to put it in a cage. It's not a very vigorous grower. So again, lots of blossoms. If I can get some pollinators in there, we should have some cucumber. And then zucchini. I just came out here last night and harvested this. This is not looking good as far as the leaves are concerned. But I just got 3 huge zucchini. I probably let them go a little bit too long last night. And then you can see there's another one there. And then looking over here, we've got that one. And then just to look at the other side. All right, let's take a look at our tomatoes. I had a surprise tomato in here. I didn't plant that one. I planted this one, and that one was a surprise as well. Got that one in the ground. Basil's looking good. Green beans are looking good. I harvested a bunch of green beans last night. You can see I left some. Those always do well. Here's the celery that we planted. It's doing well. More tomatoes. And then these as well. I've been picking these turnips as they've been ready. This one actually is more than ready. Not very big, but they're good. They're not too spicy. Get this weed out of here. Got this other one back here. You can see how it's kind of coming up. You can see the top of it. So that's when I'll pick it. So 2 more turnips today. Here's our onions. Those are all looking good. You see there's lots of new growth. They look a lot different than when we first separated and planted them. And then 2 different kinds of peppers over here. And we do have peppers that I'm waiting to get bigger before I harvest them. There's another one there. There's a lot. And then 1 more tomato over there. And walking over to the side, you can see our camellia right there is doing well, that lemon coral sedum. Ajuga, of course our hosta, a stilby, the loropetalum, more ajuga, and then creeping jenny to help fill in around the stones. Hosta, camellia. And then I think I told you I am planning on dividing this hosta and putting part of it over there. Not until the fall. It's too hot to try to transplant anything right now. Remember this gardenia? How thin and bare it looked when you first saw it? It's filled out nicely. I have trimmed the camellia that's in the middle of those two gardenias. At the very top, the growth was bent over, so I trimmed that off so it stands up nice and straight. And of course, that forces branching out to make it a bit thicker looking as well. And then if you remember this ground cover that I mistakenly called Asiatic Jasmine when I filmed the first garden tour video, I forget what it is. I'm gonna have to pop up the name of what it is, but it fills in. And we've got the fountain working. Hydrangeas are just about done. And then our other gardenia. It's that bacopa that we planted in with the gardenia standard. The leaves on the gardenia look white and spotted. That's because I have treated it with a fungicide. I'm going to explain a little bit more about that when we go to the side yard. And then this pinky winky hydrangea that was received through mail order. It was not in good shape when I got it. It is definitely looking better this year. It's put on some more growth. I'm still a little tentative about it though. It's got some fungal issues, which is part of the reason why the gardenia next to it has the fungicide treatment as well. So let's talk about what didn't work. I planted that Whitewell Gem Aubrietta in these two pots. It did not like the sun. I don't know if it's because I put it in this black pot and maybe it just had more radiant heat than what it could stand, but it shriveled up and died fairly quickly after I planted it. So I found this Calibrachoa in the clearance rack and planted that in this pot. And then of course we've got our gardenia that we're training to be a standard. And here's my seed experiment that I told you about. Remember I told you I threw out a packet of seeds? So it was zinnia, there was some lavender, some different purple flowers, which would look really well with that chartreuse zinnia. It doesn't look like anything except the zinnia came up, but look at it. It's so pretty. Little lime punch hydrangeas are loving their spot. They used to be, I can't remember if I told you this, they used to be in the back garden and they weren't doing well there. So I moved them. I created this whole space for those little lime punch hydrangeas. And boy, I'm glad I did because man, they are looking good. I want to point out these sedum, which I don't remember the name of them offhand. I bought, I think, 2 or 3 plants originally, and I took cuttings from them to propagate and fill in the rest of this space. I love the way this bed is turning out. There's our white cadet verbena. It's doing very well. Some dahlia. I do not dig up these tubers every year. I let them go. They come back every year just fine. These are not one of the finicky dahlias. And then our Major Wheeler honeysuckle that we trained up the post. It's doing nicely. Now it did have, you can see it, it did have, again, some fungal issues. I noticed leaves were turning yellow and getting spotted. A quick Google search told me that it was likely honeysuckle blight, which isn't detrimental to the plant other than it will defoliate the plant, but it doesn't kill the plant. But it did recommend to treat it with a fungicide, so that is what I did. And moving on to the other side, more dahlia, hydrangea, Sunshine ligustrum is very happy. Typically have to trim this guy a couple times in one season. I love the color. Okay, here we are in the side yard. We've got these two identical beds. We've got a dahlia that I planted this year. Now you're gonna notice all of these leaves are white and spotted. That's that daconil. Coral charm peony, another dahlia. Here's the zinnia that we planted together. These gardenias are the ones that I treated with the chelated iron because they had chlorosis. You can see, if I try to get some of this fungicide off, the chlorosis issue's fixed. The iron very quickly turned that around. You see, we've got, these aren't yellow leaves, this is just new growth. So we've got lots of new growth. We don't have the yellow leaves with the dark veining anymore. The iron fixed it. But shortly after I treated it with the chelated iron, I noticed that some of the leaves were yellowing and had spots. So again, I thought, okay, well, this could be a fungal issue. So I treated it with the daconil. I've been pretty consistently treating it about every week, week and a half, and it looks so much better. You can see a couple of yellow leaves still, but before I treated this with the fungicide, I was worried about this plant. I have plenty more to replace it, but I don't want to have to keep replacing plants. I want to fix what I can, if I can. So I'm glad it's working. Between the iron and the fungicide, I think we're going to be okay with this one. And then we've got a zinnia here. The one in front of it did not survive. Got another peony, dahlia, coral charm peony, and dahlia. Moving to the other side, same exact layout. And same issue with this gardenia. You can see the chlorosis if I wipe off one of these leaves. The leaf is nice and green, no yellow, no dark veining. This is new growth, so that's beautiful. And this might be a better example of how you can see those leaves and how they just weren't looking healthy and needed to be treated. But you see all the new growth, it's looking so much better. So we're gonna keep on it and see what happens. All right, moving around to the front. We've got a camellia that the builder planted, got an encore azalea that I planted, and I put these dahlia, zinnia, and baby's breath in a container. I got these Coleus on clearance from a big box store to help fill in the space. And then these are Heuchera that we planted when we redid the front garden bed. Some Dusty Miller that I need to get out here and prune. There is a Flirt Nandina. Now, I want to point out these petunias. I planted a bunch of petunias. I always do. They are full sun plants. Now, I know that this gets dappled sun, but so many of them have just died. I've never had this happen before, and there's still plenty of root structure on it, so it's not like something's down there eating the roots. I've never had that happen before with petunias. Petunias are so easy and carefree. You see, these are doing okay, but this one, plenty of root. It did root in. You can hear it when I lift it. Moving over to the containers in the front, I planted those up with you. We've got our variegated ivy, our zinnia, and our lemon cypress. Doing very well. I'm going to propagate that ivy. I'll trim this I'll cut this off and I'll root it and propagate it. Window boxes, been getting lots of herbs off of our window boxes. And then I planted this one up with you. Remember, we have our mint in the far right. Then next to that, we have our sage. And then we have oregano and thyme. All right, I'm going to give you one view of the bed that we changed together. This was the biggest project that we've done together. So let's swing over to the front and let you see what it's looking like today. All right, here it is. It's doing well. Now, there were some transplant shock issues. This barberry is looking much better now, but it was touch and go there for a little bit. It needed a little bit of extra TLC. The Heuchera, I don't know. We'll see. This is a Coleus, again, that I got on clearance. But the Heuchera, I said when I planted it, it's just never done well in the ground. And it could be that one's just getting too much sun. The one in the back is looking okay. This gardenia, again, this is one that I propagated. I took it from a pot and put it straight down here. It did not have a chance to acclimate to the sun, so it also was quite shocked. The yellow leaves you see are probably from overwatering because I probably loved it a bit too much. And then when I took a step back and just let it do its thing, it bounced back beautifully. And that's a lesson for us. Sometimes when we step back and let things naturally happen, sometimes they work out better than when we try to intervene. I was trying to love that gardenia too much. I saw that it was struggling. I was babying it. I was doing everything I could to nurse it back to health. But when I stepped back and just let it breathe for a second, that's when it turned around. The camellia is doing very well. It also had a bit of transplant shock. It was undercover when it was at the nursery, and then I put it in this location that gets more sun than it was used to. So it suffered some leaf damage and wasn't too happy for the first, I don't know, maybe 5-7 days, but it's bounced back beautifully. It's gotten new growth on it. And then the lilac. This adjusted beautifully. It didn't have a lot of transplant shock. And look, I just noticed. Got some flowers. And we've got right next to where I'm standing, this Diamond Spire Gardenia. Another view of the barberry. And then the other Diamond Spire. So all in all, I am so happy I did this. Do you remember how hesitant I was to rip those gardenias out that were so established and start over? But it's turned out so nice. And as everything starts to fill in, of course, it's going to look even better. Moving on to the side of the driveway. Again, petunias, and you'll see again, it doesn't matter where they are. They're just not the best. I've never had that happen before with petunias. I planted some St. John's wort at the same time that I redid that front garden bed. These were also undercover at the nursery and weren't acclimated to the sun. They just had a little bit of a harder time adjusting, but they're turning around. And we planted this Heller's holly together. You can see all that light green new growth, so that's encouraging. Got another St. John's wort behind it. That one was one of the worst with the transplant shock, and it's putting on some new growth, so happy to see that. This salvia is just about done. You can see there's still some bees on it, but it is just about done. And this one is done. The bees aren't going to be visiting that one. I'll wait to cut them all back at the same time. And then you can see another St. John wort back there. And we'll head over to the side yard. I showed you one of my garnet hydrangea back here that was blooming. Now you can see they're all in bloom. These two right here are a little smaller. They get more sun. You probably want a little bit more shade. Cryptomeria, I don't do anything to that. It just grows. Got some more sedum. And then these other hydrangeas. Look at that one. The blooms age as they get older. And then another cryptomeria. And then looking back into the side. I think I told you I laid all of these stones. We had some moisture issues in the back between having so much shade back here and it not draining correctly. We had a lot of algae issues. It just stayed wet. Nothing could grow. So I put these stones down and then filled it in with these ground covers. I've got lemon coral sedum. I've got creeping jenny. There's some creeping thyme mixed in the bunch. Once all of that took off, the grass started to grow. I guess maybe because it was helping to control that moisture. But I just love the way it looks with the different colors and the different textures. That's it. Thanks for joining me on this update video and for hanging out with me while we complete these projects together. I love being able to share my garden, maybe give you some tips along the way, and help us remember what life lessons the garden can teach us. So until next time, stay rooted, stay refined, and I'll see you soon.